as the attorney for Walter Woodward, I'm a little concerned that the story that's been put out in the media and elsewhere is mostly derived from the police report that was prepared by one Lance Smith, which contains numerous discrepancies between what was reported by the witnesses, and including the adults at the party, and what is in that report. So my hope is that Mr. Woodward will be able to get his point of view and what actually happened at the party out there. When we go to trial, I expect the evidence will show that Mr. and Mrs. Woodward and their two guests, and ultimately three guests, controlled the party and did everything reasonable in their power to ensure that this was a safe environment, and one particularly in which no alcohol would be consumed. There was a guest list of less than 20 people. By 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night, using social media or whatever, the party had grown significantly beyond that. Mr. and Mrs. Woodward and their other adult chaperones persistently, maybe every 15 minutes or so, went to where the main group of kids were, and on several occasions either confiscated or spilled out alcohol that they had found among the crowd. They had a costume contest. They had pizza that Mrs. Woodward went out for. They had a bonfire. They had punch. They had Cokes. In no case was alcohol served, and nor do I believe any of the witnesses claim alcohol was actually served by the Woodwards. And moreover, they took every reasonable precaution to make sure that it wasn't consumed, even if brought in from elsewhere. Someone may have spiked the punch. Other than that, we have no idea where the alcohol came from, and we do know it was not from the Woodwards themselves. It's terrible that one young lady went to the hospital, apparently. Again, we don't know what she consumed, where she consumed it, and certainly where she got it. What we do know is that the Woodwards did not provide it to her. After the arrival of dozens of kids that weren't invited to the party, Mr. and Mrs. Woodward made a decision to shut the party down. They called a friend, an acquaintance of theirs, who's one of the top law enforcement officials in the state of Arkansas, to obtain his assistance, perhaps by using his blue lights to get the party dispersed. He was out of town, was unavailable, and even without his help, the Woodwards began to clear the party out, at which point this Officer Smith apparently jumped out of the woods, and realizing that his opportunity to make arrests was now fading, proceeded to try to round up as many kids as possible, and treated my client in a way that the details will come out at trial, but was not what one would expect from law enforcement.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I know you said it'll come out at trial, but can you talk a little bit about what you, I guess, sort of inappropriate?
Officer Smith entered my client's house twice without a warrant, and after being told they were not invited into the house.
Could you talk a little bit about, I know Officer Smith had some problems before with his record. Could you talk about that?
Officer Smith's prior involvement with the Benton Police Department and the circumstances surrounding his dismissal from the Benton Police Department are each matter of public record, and I would urge you to find that public record.
So you don't want to talk about the specifics there about why that might be an issue for your client?
I don't think that would be appropriate.
So would it be fair to say that Mr. Woodward at a certain point did realize that the party had kind of gotten out of control?
Absolutely. And the 5 adults that were present, again, started spilling alcohol out, they confiscated 1 bottle of vodka. My client's sister, who was there, she's an attorney from Texas, had the privilege of a beer can thrown at her head in retribution for having spilled out one young person's alcohol.
Any points J.S. tried calling police besides the neighborhood law enforcement? That was the guy that was neighbor?
Well, I don't know that I said he was a neighbor. The effort that was made to obtain the assistance of law enforcement was made to one of the top lawmen in the state of Arkansas. There were no other efforts, because immediately after that, my client pulled the plug on the music and began loudly telling the young adults that were there that the party was over, they needed to leave on account of their own behavior. information I have, it seems that they have acted with all prudence. They had their relatives who had planned to stay in Hot Springs come stay here in Saline County with them. They went through the party periodically to make sure there was no trouble brewing. Short of breathing down every kid's neck at a party like that, I don't know what else they could have done, and they did terminate the party when they realized that the young adults there were not behaving by the rules.
Why are you going to court?
Because my client has been charged with 11 counts of willfully endangering the welfare of a minor.
What do you think this has done to the reputation for the family?
It's done a terrible disservice to this family. Mr. Woodward, I could start with him being an Eagle Scout, go on to him being a pilot. This was intended to be a wholesome, festive affair, and if you can't create that kind of an atmosphere, given their efforts, I don't know how you could with a group of children, and what more could be done with the children of that age.
What were you celebrating? What was it?
It was a Halloween party.
Oh, just a Halloween party? Okay.
Costumes and prizes for those costumes.
By invitation only.
Okay.
Why do you think the police are, why do you think there are discrepancies in the police report, or why do you think the police are lying?
I didn't say that the police were lying. I am saying that there are numerous important discrepancies between what was reported and what appears in the police report. Why? I can only guess.
Has this ever happened before, with Woodward's having a party like this where alcohol had, one way or another, been consumed by minors?
Never.
Mr. Woodward, did you consume alcohol during the party, according to the report?
Yes, we had, the adults had wine at the back porch. I had a couple of drinks, one at 5 o'clock, one at 7. I was also breathalyzed, and there was no report or mention of that. And, you know, I wasn't, in the report it said that I had red eyes and slurred speech, and, it's inaccurate.
What has this personally been like for you, Mr. Woodward?
It's been tough on our family, and you know, to have your mug shot from 2 a.m. in the morning, splashed over all the media without having any opportunity to respond, is very difficult.
And you also have to think how hard this is on their son, whose intent was to throw a party, whose friends were trying to pull the party in one direction, yet he was still answerable to his parents, who maintained ultimate responsibility for the safety of their guests. Their son is having a hard time.
And I would like to say to the parents of the invited guests that we did everything in our power to provide a safe environment. And I would say to the parents of the uninvited guests that showed up at our door, that we did everything in our power not to allow this to become a drunken party. We stopped.
Have you spoken to the girl that went to the hospital?
No, we have not.
Okay.
That breaks my heart.
In the police report, it says the witnesses say that you knew that the punch had alcohol in it.
No, that's not what the police report says.
Correct.
The police report says that he knew there was alcohol being consumed. Yes, he knew there was alcohol being consumed. He was spilling it out whenever he saw it.
So obviously, just to clear up, you're saying that every time Mr. Woodward saw any alcohol being consumed, it was immediately either taken away or dumped out?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying, as well as the other 2 adults who were there from the beginning to the end of the party, and the 5th adult who showed up around 9.
And Mr. Woodward, you were saying that it's really difficult for you finding out what the young girl who went to the hospital. What would you want to say to either her or her family members?
I would want to say to her family and to her that as difficult as it's been on us, we know that it's been extremely difficult on them too. And our hearts go out to them.
Thank you all very much.